If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Great Race Plays right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with co-hosts Pete Visco and Paul Halloran. We are here to discuss the fantastic late pick 4, as usual, this Sunday at Santa Anita, February 9th, which, of course, precedes the big one, the big game, number 59, Chiefs versus Eagles. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, whether you're watching on the HHH Racing Podcast YouTube channel, X handle. Of course, we welcome all of our West Coast friends out in California watching on the Santa Anita YouTube channel and the Santa Anita X handle. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right hand side of the screen, the notification bell also on the top right hand side of the screen, and smash that like button. It will bring like-minded players just like you to the HHH Racing Podcast. We greatly appreciate it. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Fantastic tip sheet. Look below the video player. It's been rock solid. It's inexpensive. It's very profitable. We got a lot of big stakes coming up. This is a huge next few months. Now is the time to look into subscribing to our excellent, profitable, inexpensive Power Picks tip sheet. More information, of course, on our website as well, hhhracingpodcast.com. Dylan, how are we doing tonight?
Fantastic. What's going on, Paul?
Terrific. Everything's great. I've had really a slow night, not much to do, just kind of relaxing all night, just waiting for the show.
Have you
Nice.
calmed down from your prior rant? So if anyone doesn't
I thought
know,
I thought that was a very measured rant.
it was
Howard,
very
didn't you?
measured, actually. Yes, you were not worked up at all. It was calm,
No.
cool, collect. So for people who don't know, we just finished our normal Picks and Ponies show, where at the end Paul does his rant of the week, and today was a subdued rant without too much excitement.
Check
Well, I
out
hope
episode.
everyone's watching that show. Why
They
wouldn't
should.
people be
Well,
watching?
there could have been a few that just don't know. Maybe they picked this up on the Santa
let's
Anita
go.
feed and
Let's
they
go.
don't know.
Come on.
So go
Let's
back,
go.
YouTube, go back. Right after this, go watch that one. Just don't watch the first couple minutes, but that's okay.
Nah, it's fine.
Just
Yeah,
kidding.
we
Just kidding.
by the way, those of you that are fans of the show that watch Picks and Ponies regularly, we figured out what's going on at the beginning of the show. We were having trouble playing my montage or our montage and doing a few other things, but Pete and I, the tech experts the tech expert that he is, not me. We figured out what's going on. It should not be a problem on Picks and Ponies going forward at the very, very beginning. The rest of the hour and 6 minutes, other than the hour 7-minute show, was spectacular as usual. Guys, we got a very interesting late pick for Sunday, featured with the Sweet Life Stakes. And if you have kids or you're a fan of Disney, no, it's not the Sweet Life with Zach and Cody. This would be just the Sweet Life Stakes themselves. No yachts, no boats or anything like that show feature, the cruise, etc. If you're a fan of the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, you know what I'm talking about. If you have absolutely no clue what I'm talking about, that is okay. Yes, of course, Tom. Pete saves the day. Late pick 4, guys, Sunday. Let's get right into it at Santa Anita. Now the time starts a little bit earlier. We're going to try to, they try to get the races in, obviously, before the big game. Real quick question before we start. Simon Bray brought this up on FanDuel. I actually think it's a good question. Should we have any horse racing at all on the big day Sunday, or should we just let the football game take over the sports world? Thoughts?
No, I would have it, but be done. I would have it be done by 6:00 Eastern.
Agree.
So,
Yep, which we are doing on this card. So
Okay.
it's perfect.
Yeah, I think most tracks try to do that for sure, guys. Let's get into it right now. The late pick 4 on Sunday at Santa Anita starts in race 6 at 1:33 local. That'll be 4:33 on the East Coast. This is one of 2 races in the sequence, guys, if you read carefully, that is restricted for the Northern California horses. Now, look, I guess if you're a diehard Santa Anita fan, you can complain, oh, why do we have these cheap horses? Look, it needs to be done because of the situation in California right now. I personally have no problem with it whatsoever. And actually, guys, it's yielded some big fields, which I always like. I know they're not always the highest class, but they are big fields. This is not exactly the most talented horses on the grounds or in Northern California, for that matter. It's maiden claiming 12.5. They're going 5.5 for the Calbreds, restricted to 3-year-olds. It's a field of 10. The morning line favorite is, and the morning lines are on Equibase, guys, but I did not see them on the PPs, which I found very weird. I don't know if you guys
Funny, they're on the time form side, but not the on the time form tab, but not the formulator tab, which also makes absolutely no sense. I'm not sure
Okay.
why they can't put them on both, but at least you could see them if you're on the time form, so you don't have to have Equibase open as well. But
Sure.
yes,
Well, this is the first time we've seen them anywhere, actually, in the
yeah,
first 8
usually we
weeks
don't
of our
have them at
show.
all
So,
for the
right.
show. Yep.
Moreline favorites the number 2, Far Overloaded for Rondon and Herrera. That is the morning line favorite, the number 2. Let's see where we're going to go here in this race to kick off the late pick 4 at Santa Anita. I'm going 8-4-10. Paul's going 10-6-1, and Pete's going 9-8-4. Paul, you can go with number 10, Mr. Hussar, for Steve Sherman and Mr. Anton Georgi. 9-2 is the morning line.
Is that what I just sent you? Are you sure?
I believe so, but we
I-
can switch it if you don't like that.
Well, I sent it during the previous show. I was late. I'm wondering if you're using.
Okay, you know what? Actually, I just realized this is last week because I never got it from you, or you might
Yeah,
have
I
sent
was.
it.
Yeah, I was a little late. 425.
Okay, you'll have to give it to us during the show.
Yeah.
That's right. I just realized, I just made
Sorry
a note
about
that I
that.
hadn't gotten it from you. No problem.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you like about the number 4? Hoser Satrapa. This is
Well,
Miati's got 2 here. There's a bunch of first-time starters, and I thought this one was interesting also. The morning line for Hoser Satrapa, if that's pronounced correctly, is 8-1. I have a feeling that First is going to win this race, Paul. What do you like about this Miati train? He's got 2 of them here.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And he is 18% with first-time starters in maiden claiming races over the last 5 years. So, yeah, that was my thinking, Howard, looking at the horses who have run. I ran to one of the first timers. I looked at the other one, Mr. Hustler, the horse who you thought I took. Sherman's 12% with first time starters and maiden claimers, but the breeding on this horse, the sires. 3-year-old first-time starters are 0 for 11 and no sibs to win their first race. So I landed on a 3% jockey, which we know that's terrific. But I just think you hit the nail on the head. I wanted a first timer, and I thought this one had as good a chance or better than the other first timers.
Now, Paul, Castellanos is 1 for 33 at Santa Anita, but in 2024, he
Right.
was an 18% jockey. You can't see on the screen. He won
Yep.
89 times. Obviously, these Northern California jockey stats at Santa Anita are going to be skewed, Paul, for 2 reasons. One, there aren't a lot of races restricted for Northern California horses. And number 2, they're obviously going against some serious horses in higher class races that they're not supposed to win. So I'm not going to take the jockey stats too much into account. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, no, because they were all look at the jocks in this race. They're all in the same boat, as you would say, right?
Yes.
So,
Matt Miller
I think that's a
89
very
for
good
500
point.
last year. Yeah. Pete, you're going to go with the number 9 again. We don't have the numbers on the screen, but I know you're going to go with True Mantra. Now, I believe you had a horse last week, Pete. Correct if I'm wrong. You picked a 3 horse in the first leg of our pick 4 that won. That was like 0 for 10 that I didn't like. I'm not sure if Paul didn't like. So nice job on that call. This horse reminds me of that. I'm always looking for fresh faces. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Like last week, you were correct. I was wrong. This is the same kind of deal, right? This horse is 0 for 3. Has only run this class level once. And in theory is slow, but has experience. And if things work out like the first race of the pick 4 last week, might win.
Yeah, because we say slow, but when there's so many first-time starters, we don't know what they're going to look like in terms of figures or on the clock. So compared to the rest of the fields that have already run, this horse is right in line with them. Like you said, I didn't mind dropped to a similar level last time, not here at Santa Anita, and was a big favorite and wound up losing. But I didn't mind the fact that at least was able to sit off and make up some ground. So that bodes well a little bit. and I didn't like the fact that the figures have decreased each race, so I'm not making the best case. All I really like, though, I think this horse is one of those. When you're talking 0 for 10, you start getting really into those high maiden races where they still haven't won. This one's run 3 times and has been close, hit the board every time. So it's not like I don't look at this one as a perennial loser just yet. It could just be some luck. It could just be young and still trying to figure some things out. Now I assume at least he's at the level of horses that he belongs with. So I think you saw that last time. Again, it wasn't good enough to get the win, but he still sat off sort of a speed favoring pace. And there's some good stats I saw. So McCanna, 31% wins on the dirt at Santa Anita in 2025. So you could see 19% there, but even much better just on the dirt. And then 42% wins. There was first time Lasix, I think, in 42% first time Lasix in the past couple of years. If you exclude the first time starters, we don't count them because they start their career with Lasix. So putting Lasix on first time with someone who started already. And then the other thing I like is you get Alvarado again, who picked up this horse last time, ran well last out. So now you're adding Lasix. You have a jockey who's second time up. You're in a field against horses that I think are more on his level, and the trainer's hot while he's been here, especially on the dirt. So I think all that adds up to a horse that has shown that it has some ability, and I think can improve enough to beat this field, unless one of these first timers just blows up and is just much better, and we just don't know it yet.
No, we don't know. And the stat that I have on Miotti, Paul, I think you gave a stat as well. I have Miotti at this on the talking about the 4, and also he trains the 3 first time starter Joe Vittori, who's more turf meant it looks, but could win also, I suppose. Last 5 years, Miotti with first time starters in a sprint in main claiming races. So the exact conditions we have today, 20%, Paul, on the win end, 55% in the money. So Steve Miotti can absolutely win with first time starters in this situation. I'm going to go with another first time starter, guys. The number 8, Rachel's Gig. This is for Tamayo. This is a Gig Harbor colt out of a Perfect Mandate mare. Gig Harbor, which I remember that name, was a very, very talented, fast sprinter. Won 143,000, was all speed, was mainly synthetic and turf, but showed a lot of speed. You know what, guys? If this horse can show just a remote amount of speed that her father showed, I think she has a shot. The works are decent. Again, Tamayo, 25%. You see on the bottom of the screen there with first-time starter, 20%, excuse me, with first-time starters. Guys, I frankly have no clue if this horse can run, but I do like horses that are bred to be fast early. They don't have to be superstars. You just need someone that's going to break well. I'm going to look at the workout reports. I recommend everyone take a look at workout reports if you have them, especially for this race and the board. I mean, Paul, in this kind of race, we're doing this everyone needs to understand watching live and then listening to this replay. We're doing this show 72 hours out with, we do have morning lines, but we don't have workout reports, and we're doing 72 hours ahead of time. To me, if you can see a workout report and the board in this kind of race, it's gold.
I would agree. I absolutely agree with that. Especially with obviously the first timers, or if you have a horse that hasn't shown much, and even despite the field hasn't shown much, and takes a lot more money than you think he should. So yeah, I think in a race like this, Howard, you need all your resources, and if you can hire a psychic for short money, do that too.
Sure, why not? That'll work. Let's go on to leg 2, guys, of the Pick 4 Sunday at the Great Race Plays. With our Great Race Plays, it's the Sweet Life Stakes, race 7. $100,000 going down the hill. The rail is out slightly, 10 feet. That is important to note, although that will have very minimal effect on the race. If it has any effect at all, it might slightly help the speed, but 10 feet's really not very much. Restricted 3-year-old fillies, big field of 10. The Moorline favorite, pretty heavy one, is a Baffert trained turf horse. And yes, he can train turf horses. Look up de jour in the encyclopedia, if you even know what that is for you younger people listening and watching. Flavian Pratt, 7-5. I think she's going to be tough. Let's see where we're going. I'm going 5-9-3. Paul is not going with that horse. He's going 7-4. No, he's not. Paul, what do you got?
I was going to say he's tossing
Yep.
the Baffert.
Paul, who do you got in the top three?
5-7-3.
5-7-3. I promise that is the last time I will do that tonight. Again, Paul's picks getting a little bit late, and we didn't have time to put them up on the screen. And Pete is going 5-3-7. So we're all going to go with Castelou. Pete, I love turnbacks. This horse might be good enough anyway, even if she wasn't turning back.
Yeah, so there's a lot to like, and I think the price obviously reflects that. You get the Baffert factor, you get the Pratt factor, so you're definitely going to get something super low in terms of price, but has two for two in the top two at Santa Anita. And the thing you do like you said, so there've been 4 races on the turf, 4 all going a mile. They were all pretty solid. I mean, the last one finally culminated, finally got the win, or got the second win, I guess, after the maiden win. But, it'd been in stakes and graded stakes the whole time and has been running pretty well. Just couldn't get over the hump. Now you get the lifetime buyer top. You can't see it on the screen, but there was a lifetime time form top as well. First start at 3, so you're hoping for a little bit improvement. If you get improvement off the way she finished the year, then I think you got something here, especially against this field. I feel like the trip works too. She's tactical enough where she could sit right behind what looks on paper like a pretty solid pace. So she could sit right behind that. Pratt can be patient and then just pounce. And then most of these horses, I don't remember if there's any that have run down the hill in this field, or maybe there was one, I can't recall, but at least this one going the mile. Sometimes the mile translates to down the hill. So they're close enough in some ways. And she's shown an affinity for that as well. So there's just a lot to like, which that 7-5 price or whatever it was reflects that.
There is. She's beaten a lot of these horses already. There's no guarantee. I mean, I think the switch to Pratt is just fine. Last time I checked.
I'll take that, right? I'll take that.
One of the hardest. I'll tell you what, whoever, I don't know who the agent is for Pratt off the top of my head, but whoever that agent is doing a great job. Do you know what it is, Paul?
Brad Pegram. Brad
Pegram doing a great job, because Pratt's going to be at Tampa the day before. Then he's going to fly all the way across the country back to Santa Anita to ride their card. Guys, I am a bit interested in Acquitted, the number 9 for Papa Mandela, who, to be honest, guys, has stuffed me in a locker recently with a horse named Copion, who, by the way, got a 110 last weekend in the stake race that was the last Virginus, correct? The last weekend that we talked about briefly. Copion has turned into an absolute monster. Acquitted, guys, maybe this horse is just a turf sprinter. I mean, her best number clearly was 2 back when she won in September, 75 buyer, did it well. Then they tried to stretch her out. Obviously, that didn't work out well at all against Castelou. She was 9-1. It was a pretty hot pace. I just think she's a sprinter. She's been working very well over the synthetic, inner track. How about 111 and 4? And then the work on January 19th, 45? What? I mean, for Mandela, that is crazy. So my feeling here, guys, cozy outside post. Maybe this is the one that could upset. I'm curious to see how Acquitted is bet. What was the morning line on Acquitted? 6-1. I think she might take a little more money than that, to be honest. But we'll see. The other horse I want to mention here, and you guys are going to talk about this horse also, is Shillified. Shilflied.
Shilflied. Yeah, I don't.
I'll have to get the exact pronunciation. The number 3. Guys, I don't know how you feel. Pete, you got this horse second. Paul third. I would have liked this Mendelssohn filly a lot more if she didn't run 2 weeks ago, because she's coming back quickly. I understand why, she fits, but she was right there with Castelou, guys, 2 back. I watched. Actually, we're going to go ahead and show the race. She had a little trouble, and Castelou got the jump on her, and I just don't think that this number 3 horse wants the mile. I think she's more of a sprinter. I'm just going to take it right to the stretch, guys, if we can. Yep. Let's take it to the stretch. Castelou is the 8. Shillified is the one. Um, the one we're talking about did save ground. You see the one here on the inside tugging. Meanwhile, Castleu, who's the 8, is wide. So keep in mind that the 8 is 3 wide on both turns here and goes 2 wide. Meanwhile, the 1 is saving ground. But watch the 1 right here. The 1's going to have room and steadies. See, look at the hold. And this is a monster hold here, right, guys? Then is able to let the horse go, but then has to angle out. And it gets in a little. No, actually, that was not really tight. But right there, I think the horse wanted to go outside, stays on the inside, and just didn't have enough. But maybe this horse is a sprinter, guys. And Castleu does it well. But again, the one had a very strong hold most of the race, and maybe just couldn't see out the distance. I'm a little bit interested also in this horse. Thoughts, guys? Then we'll move on to the next race.
Yeah, I like that as sort of if you really like Castleu, I sort of like that as a cold exacta play, or even if you Dutch it a bit to see if Shillified can turn it over. But I agree with you. I had the horse in second for all the reasons why you talked about. I think the cutback should be nice. It has one at 6.5, even though it wasn't the 6.5 down the hill. But the best race in terms of finish were the one losing to Castleu with trouble, and then the run sprinting. So if you get you're getting back to that now, and I think maybe the best can come out of this horse. And if you get that, then I could see pulling an upset. Or if nothing else, if stays at 6, I think 6 is a little high. I think if you can check those exacta prices and see what they're looking like, you might be able to make a score here.
Well, my concern, Paul, is that horse. It seems like the Mandela horse is meant for this race and has been pointed to this race, while the horse we just talked about, Skillflied, is not necessarily pointed to this race because they just ran her on the 24th. Am I overanalyzing it, or do you think that is something legitimately to think about?
Well, we like when people run their horses, so we don't want to be too hard on Patty Gallagher. I thought it was Shill Fried, which is what happened to the Yankees in Game 6 in 2004. They got fried by Shill with the bloody sock.
The bloody sock
tremendous.
Game. Wow.
Howard, don't sleep on the 7 here. Jonathan Thomas ships west with purpose, as you can see by the numbers.
As catch can, it's a Florida bred, 15-1 morning line, Paul. So you're in a nice price. I believe that's a speed horse, if I recall. And just going back to the past performances.
No, it's closer.
Big closer.
Big closer. Okay, I'm wrong.
By the way, Paul, Jonathan Thomas and Rispoli, the combination has won 3 straight races together when they've teamed up. So there you go. I had that one in the mix in terms of
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Woodbine. Little Woodbine form. Interesting. Yeah.
But the turf, Broken's maiden on turf.
Yeah.
Her maiden on turf. Drink something. Her maiden on turf.
Yeah.
Had to come from last to Keeneland, just too far back. And, that Mezzarine race, as I recall, was a pretty good race. I think we previewed that race, so we certainly, it was the day after the Breeders' Cup. We wouldn't have previewed it, but we talked about it.
Yeah.
And, I think
actually the only bad race.
Interested.
The only bad race when you watch I watched the replay, stumbled pretty badly and was just sort of out of it at that point and was just way too far back and still ran on late. Just had too much to do.
Never know.
Very briefly, we want to thank everyone watching, especially on the San Anita X channel. We have literally hundreds of people watching right now on the San Anita X on the X channel. Please remember that we have an awesome tip sheet. Look below the video player for what we call our Power Picks tip sheet. If you're not familiar, it comes out on Saturdays, covers many races throughout the country. ABC grid, spot plays, price plays, fantastic ROI, very inexpensive. Look below the video player or go to patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast for information, or you can go to the great website that Pete Visco runs for the podcast, hhhracingpodcast.com, for information about our fantastic Power Pick tip sheet. Let's go on to race 8, guys. Race 8, the penultimate race on Super Bowl Sunday, is starter optional, claiming 6,250 down to 5,000. Again, now this is restricted for Northern California horses only. It's a field of 7 in this race, with the morning line favorite number 7, Major Tom. Orozco is riding 4 to 5 morning line. Let me go ahead and put something on the screen because I had something that I wanted to show you guys, but let me go ahead and put the banners up first, and I'm gonna let you guys
352.
do the talking first. Yep, I was just going to ask you 352 for Paul. Wow, Paul, not a fan of Major Tom. Interesting. Okay, well that's perfect, Paul, because I'm gonna let you talk first. I am 753. Paul's 352, and Pete is 753. Paul's gonna go with. Do you know a Big Don, Paul? Because he's going with Big Don Smiling for McLean and Americano 5-1 morning line. Let me go ahead and switch it over. Talk about this horse, Paul.
Well, Howard, the race is a challenge. I went through and looked at the stats of these trainers on the Southern Cal circuit, and I get it. They're Northern Cal trainers, but when they have ventured down, Sergio Morfin, the one, he's dominant. He's won 35 times in the South. Trujillo, who has 2 horses here, is 0 for 47, and Calvario is 0 for 25, and George Maravilla is 0 for 7. Yeah, look at I didn't have the lines. I think the 7 is logical, but I thought the 3 would be right around that price. It kind of boiled down to me assuming the 7 was going to be a pretty good favorite, and I want no part of the favorite in a race. I think this is a really challenging race, and unfortunately, I'll talk about it at the end. But where it's situated makes it difficult because it's part of the late double, it's part of the late pick 3, which I think is a great bet. So yeah, nothing too clever here. I wanted something other than the favorite.
If this one is sitting right here, as we show again for your audio listeners, you can't see the screen, which is why it's best that you jump onto YouTube and watch our shows either as a replay or live. Timeform's got the 3 sitting right off the 5, and according to the pace situation, it favors front runners with the 7 stalking those 2. If the 3 is right there, Paul, I'm assuming you're very happy. One big factor to me in this race is this is not 5.5, this is 6. And it feels like a lot of these horses don't want much past 5.5. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, and that was one of the things that I did like about the 3, albeit on synthetic, has run up to a mile. And I thought the same thing, Howard. I think that, you got the 1 coming off 1,000-yard races, several other horses coming off 5.5. There could be some horses looking for a binky in the last half of furlong here.
I hear you. Pete, let's
sir.
talk about the 7. And I'll tell you what, I know you are a music fan. Are you a fan of Mr. David Bowie? Because he had a song. In fact, let's listen to it right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein.
Pete, I'm going to play a better song at the end of the show.
Okay, well, I got one more, Major Tom. All right. Anyway.
Okay, for those of you listeners who are still left. Oh, there's none left. Sorry.
It's a little bit of a macabre, sound. It's a little depressing kind of song, but actually, it's about an astronaut.
And you said Tom. You said David Bowie. So
David Bowie? Yeah. Did I say Bowie?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, he was thinking of the racetrack, Pete.
That's what I was wondering.
There you go.
That would be a good horse name.
Right by your neck of the woods. Any fans of David Bowie, by the way? There we go. No Maher, ground control. There you go. No Maher, by the way, an old soul. He knows a lot of really like 80s, 90s kind of music, actually. Very, very interesting young man. Major Tom, the horse. Pete, if this horse breaks and sits off the speed, I mean, I think he's got the class. He won't mind the distance. That last race was completely impossible. Much more difficult than this race. So it's a toss out against this field with an outside post. I think this horse is very tough. We're not being very creative. 4-5, I think I saw morning line.
No, and I didn't have a lot of. I think, like you said, my note for the last one was when it came to Santa Anita, and maybe just shot a little too high. So you shot for the shot. Not that was some great race, but I think maybe just shot a little higher than should have with this horse, and now back amongst his friends. Hey, Tom Espinoza, surprise. He likes that
we'll
song.
Play a little music once in a while. I can spin the dials once in a while.
Well, he likes to. You got to bet this horse then, Tom. Too bad it's a 4-5 shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think shot a little high. Now you're getting back to the level where this this horse fits. And if you look 2 and 3 back, if you get those races, if you get either one of those races from 2 or 3 back, I think that just pretty much beats this field. You get the same jock back up who ran 3 back. So again, I like the familiarity, especially because that was one of his better races. So you get the familiarity there. And I think the trip just works because you got some speed up front that's going to be, like Paul said, maybe hanging on by a thread late. And I think this one is going to take advantage of that.
I think ground control sits right off of No de Oro. Maybe No de Oro gets loose and wins. I believe that ground control is just a better animal, but not by much. These are not, look, these horses deserve to be in the winner's circle, just like, grade 1, but there's very little room for error. I think you guys would agree with that with these animals. Let's go on to the last race. Before we do that, 2 quick things. Number 1, I will be very proud to be on the X YouTube channel. Excuse me. The X YouTube channel and the San Anita's YouTube channel and San Anita's X handle. Tomorrow night, we're going to be covering the Coast to Coast Late Pick 5. It is hosted by Jeff Chapman. I was on last week. It's a lot of fun with some other really good co-hosts. We tipped up some real nice winners. The Coast to Coast Pick 5 on Saturday. This show covers Sunday, but the Coast to Coast Pick 5 Saturday, which includes races at San Anita and Gulfstream for first racing, is very, very difficult and a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Now, I recommend it so much, we need to play an advertisement to talk about that 15% takeout Coast to Coast Pick 5.
It's the first Coast to Coast Pick 5.
An attractive Pick 5 sequence featuring Gulfstream Park
and Santa Anita Park. Player-friendly 15% takeout.
A $1 minimum. Big pool.
Huge payout. First Coast to Coast Pick 5 every Saturday and Sunday.
There we go, guys. Been working on my transitions. No CAWs. That's right, Frank. Computer wagers out of here on that bet. All right, guys, let's go on to the last race of the day as I go ahead and switch some banners. Paul, let's just get this out of the way. We got top 3 last race on Sunday, at Santa Anita.
The 9th race, I have 963.
963 for our good friend, Mr. Paul Halloran. Let's see who the other people have. I am going 364. Paul, like he just said, is going 963. And look at that. The Pons. The Pete is also going with the 945. So Pete and Paul are both going with the 9. Yaukalef, an Irish bred for Mr. Mullins and Hector Barrios, and I do not have the 9 in the top 3. But I'll tell you what, guys. 2 interesting things about this race. And this race, by the way, is, I believe, part of the, no, it's not. It's part of the Coast to Coast, I think, on Sunday. But I found this race interesting for a few reasons. Number 1, there's some veteran horses in this race. As you can see on the screen here, we've got what? We have 2 9-year-olds and 2 8-year-olds and a 7-year-old as well. Yaukalef, guys, is the youngster who just turned 5 in this race, which you can make a strong argument that's part of the reason why Pete and Paul might like this horse. But instead of me guessing as to why they might like Yaukalef, the number 9, let's just go right to the proverbial horse's mouth, so to speak. Paul, talk about this Jeff Mullins trainee in the last race Sunday at San Diego.
Well, I know Pete will be loaded with stats, but I always like to prove to him that I do a little homework too, not nearly as much as him. But Jeff Mullins, off a win, 23%. Throw in turf, it stays at 22%. Throw in going sprint to route, it goes up to 24%. So he's solid. This horse is in form, coming off a triple Beyer top, 3 races in a row, 85. I almost went with the 6 in this race. It's notable that Rispoli, who has ridden the 9 last time, goes to the 6. But I just think Mullins is tough when he's in form, and obviously D'Amato's always tough. So you're splitting hairs there. But I thought the 9 was going to be a better price. I haven't seen the odds, Howard, but I don't know if we have them. I guessed the 9.
5 to
I
1,
guessed,
sir. 5 to 1. There they are at the bottom on the right side of the screen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and the other one's 6. Who the hell? 3 and 4, huh? Wow. Jeez.
Easy, Paul.
Live
Easy now.
reactions, everyone.
We
Live
thank our,
reactions.
we thank our wonderful partners at First Racing for sponsoring the show. Paul just has slight disagreements with Mr. Siegel,
Oh
who does
no,
the
I'm
morning line.
no. I can't. I'm just surprised. That's all. No,
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't want to set the morning. I very rarely get on. I really,
That's true.
I think people are way too hard on morning line people. It's easy after the race. Uh, Try it. And I have no idea how to do it. I know there's a math formula on it, and I think some night on a slow week, maybe we have Nick Tamaro on or David Aragona and really get into the nitty gritty. But anyway, no, I'm just pleasantly surprised that the two horses I like are 5 and 6. So there.
Pete, I gotta tell you something. I love Paul Halloran. He's like an older brother, but I am greatly offended that he does not think with my mathematical skills I could teach him how to set a morning line.
Oh,
Very
I meant a
Pete,
pro, not a I
Pete,
meant a
my
pro.
favorite my
Yes.
He
favorite
meant a
nephew, so
pro,
to
though.
speak.
Yeah, he meant a
I'm
pro.
a little disappointed, but I hear you. They do it better than me because they do it for a living. So
Well, I've also
the
heard
math
Nick say
portion,
that
Paul, is actually pretty easy. We can talk about that
Yeah.
later. Actually,
nobody on X or Twitter or wherever ever says, "Man, that was an awesome morning line you set."
Right.
Sir."
Right.
Nobody.
good
You
point.
only hear the ones that when the 20 to 1 morning line shot wins at 9 to 5 by 4 lengths. That's the only ones you hear about. Nobody ever says, "Great job, guys." So it's a
Noah
thankless
Maher,
profession.
Noah Maher, who for those who don't know, is the host of Pacific Horse Players, one of our wonderful shows on the network that is from SoCal, originally Orange County, said that Yackliffe was 4-1 last time. All right, do you think Yackliffe should be lower, Paul, just to clarify? Shorter odds?
I thought he was going to be a little longer than the 6, but I thought the 6 would be much lower than
Okay,
he is. I
interesting.
would take the 6 at that number.
Pete, thoughts about Yackliffe, or you want to touch on Terry's boy? Oh, Terry's boy. Where's Terry Frank? Is Terry Frank? There he is. Terry Frank is in the chat. Of course, Terry Frank lights the Washington bred Terry's boy. Thoughts on the 4, the 5, or anything in this race, Pete, and then I'll touch on my top choice, and we'll end the show.
No, I like that 9 though, but I agree with everything Paul said. Jeff Mullins also 4 for 6 wins in his past 6 turf routes, so he's just on fire all the way around. My second horse, I'll jump to real quick. Sorry, I'm scrolling because we don't have the numbers. Is actually Terry's boy. That's the 4, correct? Am I looking at
Yes,
the
sir.
right one? Yeah,
Speed
that
horse,
is
stretching out.
Terry's boy. Yeah, so there's some speed there, but has the ability to sit a little bit. What I did like. Again, you get the lifetime buyer top, the lifetime time form top 2 back, which was the last race at Santa Anita, then went to, was in claiming 40, then went to optional claiming 40 at Del Mar, cutting back to 5 and didn't run as well. But again, if you go back 2 races, that race rolls this field, I think, and would be definitely pretty tight here. Routed 3 times and was solid in each one. Hasn't been able to win. Was on the synth twice, on the turf once, but at least has routed and has shown some ability to do it. So it's not like, hey, this horse is only sprinted. We have questions about whether they can route. You pick up Pratt, which again, we always love when we pick up Pratt. And does have the from a time form standpoint, has the early pace. But I think the good thing is, and we like with Pratt, this horse isn't a need the lead type, can sit off. And if he does sit off, he's shown that he could pass horses and win races. So all that combination means if we get one of those races and Pratt's patience with Mullins, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, he can win. I mean, he's gone long before and done it well. He's a 9-year-old, or excuse me, an 8-year-old. Look, I love these veteran horses just in terms of the fact they can still run, and it's a good story, and it's great for the connections, and it's good for the ownership and all the horsemen who are keeping these older ones healthy. It's just usually horses I bet against because the fact of the matter is they get older, they're not as consistent, and they don't win as much. That being said, I'm going the 9-year-old, which I almost never do. This horse is not fantastic. He's fantastic, guys. That's how good this 9-year-old gelding is. Lemon Drop Kid. How a little dialed in on the top side of the male side. You don't really think turf horses. Look, this gelding could still run, guys. Been off since October. I mean, ran February, then June, then October. They spot this horse really well. I trust Peter Urton knows what he's doing with this horse. Obviously, the horse keeps running well, and the bottom line is this horse has figs that are just as good as anyone. Now, or even better. Now, can this 9-year-old replicate that after another break? I mean, at some point, Fantastic is not going to live up to his name here. But until it happens, guys, I like this horse. He can close. There's speed in the race. I just don't see reason yet to go against this JJ Hernandez horse. And again, if JJ's jumping on, for the third time in a row, who am I to say? I do not have a strong opinion, though. I've got the 6 in there also. We didn't really talk about Ottoman Prince for D'Amato, who I think has 2 in this race, if I recall. I just don't have a strong opinion in this race, guys. It makes this late pick 4 interesting because I think you really do have to spread Paul in this race. I would assume you'd agree with that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think you have to spread in the previous race, and there's only 7 horses in it. So I'm not sold on Major Tom at 4 to 5. He can be, So
Yep.
I think it's a tough sequence. When we talk about our bets, though, I wanted to talk about just how great it is to have different options out at Santa Anita.
$5 double, $3 late
Right.
pick 3, and this will end the $3 all turf late pick 3. Guys, handles up at Santa Anita, which is absolutely amazing considering everything they've been through with the fires and the rain, the days off. Congratulations, everyone out at Santa Anita, especially the racing secretary and Aiden Butler and whoever handles the types of wagers and whatnot, guys. Because I'll tell you what, it's not easy right now at Santa Anita for all the reasons that everyone knows about. With the state of racing in California, and for handle to be up is just tremendous. Of course, we all know that we are part of the reason why handle's up because
Absolutely.
we like to
We,
think
we didn't want to. We didn't want to say that, but again,
Yeah, that's
we,
okay.
we
No,
don't
I'll
like
say
to
it.
toot our own horn, but
sometimes you just got to
we will.
toot.
Well, a
Well,
little
no, Howard-
creativity in the wagering makes
Yeah.
makes it nice, man.
Absolutely.
I was
Right?
going to
Sorry,
say,
Paul. Yeah.
what I was going to say is, so last week there was one race in the sequence I really just didn't like, and I'm trying to get better at, just because I'm a horizontal idiot, sitting out sequences when I really don't like a race. So I ended up playing the late pick 3, which is a $3 bet, and I didn't hit it. Although I played it fairly well, I was at 2 moderate prices. I think I had a 4 to 1 and a 5 to 1. And in a $3 wager, you get a 4 to 1 and 5 to 1. I was alive to 2 horses. One was paying 500 something. One was paying 1,000, and they weren't like hopeless long shots, if you know what I mean. So
No,
that was a great option. Now in this sequence, Howard, I really don't like the 7th or the 9th, to be honest with you. So I mean the 6th or the 8th. Pardon me, the 6th or the 8th. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go one back to the 5th, and I'm going to play the turf pick 3 because I do like the 7th and 9th, and I'm going to go 5,
Perfect.
7, 9,
There
and
you
I have
go.
a $3 turf pick 3 to play. So
I
I
love
think
it.
it's
Love it.
great that we have these kind of options.
Absolutely. I love that idea too, Paul. Turf racing out there is fantastic. Pete, your best bet. You're going to race 6, which is the first leg of the late pick 4. You're going to put a win bet on the 9 horse.
True mantra. Yep.
Right. That's an experienced Northern California horse. And then you're going to play a double 9 into Castleloo, the Baffert horse, correct?
Yes, that is exactly correct.
All right. Very good. Paul's best bets. He's going to race 7, the
No,
aforementioned.
that's last week. That's last
Yep,
week. That's
yeah.
last week.
Paul, I'll tell you, why don't you just say what you want here, Paul?
Race
Go ahead.
6. I am playing the daily double starting. I'm using the 4, that Hoser Satrapa.
Yes.
And I'm going into the next race with the 5 and 7, the logical. Well, Castleloo, who's a logical, and the Jonathan Thomas as catch can, who's a price.
You get the Jonathan Thomas horse home at 10 to 1 off, morning line 15 to 1. That will blow up that $3 pick 3. And you're absolutely right. The parlays are unbelievable. If you can get any, and you don't need a price, you don't need an off price. You really just need a morning line price, to be very honest,
Right.
because morning lines matter a ton in horizontal betting. For those who are not familiar, if you get a 10 to 1 morning line, it goes off 4 to 1. It'll play more like a 6 to 1, 8 to 1. It does not play 4 to 1. So again, that's why I like horizontal betting. I know people that's for another show, and we can push back on it. But the parlays play much better. My best bet goes to race 7, the Sweet Life. I'm going to play a pick 3, which I haven't given out, I don't think, on these shows yet. I'm going to single Castleloo with 5, 7, the 2 speed horses, Pete, that we talked about with Major Tom and the other speed horse. And then I'm going to spread 3, 4, 5, 6. If I can afford it or choose, so I'd probably throw Yaukalef in there, guys. I'm not sure about the distance with Yaukalef. I think there's horses that are better at the distance, but Yakovlev is very sharp. And, right now, it's a $24 ticket. Adding one more horse right there, 2x5 is a $30 ticket. I'm only adding $6, guys, there. So really not a bad
Well,
idea
adding
just to go
6 to
ahead and
win
do
as
that.
opposed to not adding 6 and
Of
losing is a
course.
pretty good proposition. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. As we end the show, guys, real quick, we purposely wanted to wait to have this very short 5-minute discussion. And we'd love to hear people comment in the chat. Of course, we got the big game on Sunday, the 59th edition. Pete, I'm going to go to you first. Chiefs or Eagles and a score. And a short reason why, sir. Fly Eagles fly.
I'm going with the Eagles. I hate both teams, so I am not going to be happy either way. But I'm going to go against the Chiefs and at my own peril and take the Eagles. I'm going to go with something a little high. We're going to go I'm thinking 30-27. Let's shoot for the over because I like the over. So, uh-oh.
May God strike me dead. That was the final score I was going to say.
Oh, my
I
God.
swear to God, Pete.
Get the hell out. Hey, Eagles on top, too, right?
By the way, God, we're joking. Please don't strike Paul Halloran dead. We love him. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's your same as that pick, huh, Paul?
That's crazy.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those where the there it is. You hear
there it
that?
is.
Down 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em high, hit 'em high. Watch our Eagles fly, fly, Eagles fly. On the road to victory. EAGLES, Eagles. How's that?
Wow.
I think he likes the Eagles.
And
well,
Pete,
you know what?
Pete, he rips on me for my singing. Interesting.
Jeff Lurie, the owner, by the way, there's always a story with me. Extremely generous to the autism community, which is close to my heart. The Lurie Center for Autism at Mass General Hospital, where my daughter Martha has been a patient over the years. Jeff has a younger brother, adult brother with autism. So to be very honest with you, when the Eagles were playing the Patriots, I was rooting for the Eagles for that sole reason. So
wow,
so
they do a lot for autism. I have 2 nephews on the spectrum. We Paul and I have a special connection to autism in one way or another. So that is a very good point. Garrison Gates, we love our new people in the chat. Will you please analyze Saturday race 9? Garrison, we are not going to have time to do that, unfortunately, but I believe I'm just looking at the coast to coast. No, the coast to coast Saturday does not involve Santa Anita race 9. Garrison, go and email me, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Let me bring that up actually, it's on the scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Garrison is my email, or our email. There it is right there. hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. And before that, tomorrow, Garrison, I'll try to send you some information. It's a down the hill optional claim race. I don't know if he's got an ownership there, or Garrison, or that's of a horse, but that's interesting that you want to know that. Guys, my Super Bowl pick, I was good last year, actually. I had the Chiefs winning a close game. I know it's going to sound like a broken record because everyone is saying the same damn thing every time the Chiefs play. The other team is just the better team. The Chiefs are going to lose. I really think Buffalo spit the bit, guys, so to speak. Buffalo should have won. They should have won that game. For many reasons why they didn't. No, it wasn't all the referees. So people want to start complaining about that, go ahead. I think Philadelphia, guys, is exactly the way you beat the Chiefs. They're going to control the line of scrimmage. They're going to try to run the ball. If they can't, they're going to play action. And I think their defense is top notch. I think they're going to learn from 2 years ago. And this year, I really do believe the Eagles are the better team. I'm going to go a little bit low scoring. Most of the odds have the over, which is not a surprise. I would go under. I'm going to go 24-20 Philadelphia Eagles and make our good pal Philly Joe Metka and many other Philly fans, Andrew Radinsky and all those guys, happy. I think this is the Eagles' time, guys, and I hope Saquon breaks one because he's one of the most exciting running backs I think we've seen in the last 30 years. So I'm going to go with the Eagles 24-20 in the big game on Sunday. Guys, final thoughts. Big weekend at Santa Anita. Really interesting late pick 4 on Sunday.
No, I agree with everything you guys said. There's some good wagers there. So again, if you don't like a certain exact sequence, there's multiple sequences to find something that you like. So definitely play. And I think you said it earlier, I think, Howard, where you get these in some of these Northern California races, they're just pretty even and the fields are bigger, which has been the knock a little bit at Santa Anita sometimes, but now you're getting bigger fields and they're pretty even for the most part. A couple favorites, but they're relatively even, and I think you can find some prices in some of these sequences.
Check me out again tomorrow night, Friday night, with Jeff Chapman on the Santa Anita X handle and the Santa Anita YouTube channel for our breakdown with two other co-hosts as well of the Coast to Coast Pick 5 on Saturday. Crush your bets Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday at Santa Anita with the late Pick 4. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.